All right, if you're trying to increase your chi, that's where traditional martial arts really come into use. You find you a qualified sifu and get into it. What you want to, for me, what I think is look up, because I mean, anything works for it's whatever appeals to you. You should do what you feel is going to work for you, because everybody's different. You know what I mean? It's not about this is superior to that or any of that garbage. Now, is there a quality of training? Yeah. If you go somewhere that, like if you're trying to fight, you need to go somewhere where their practical apps are balls of the wall, you know? If you're trying to learn like a lot of internal, you know, you need to go somewhere where you can see that they're picking that energy up and then they're able to apply it in an instantaneous, like bam, you know? Well, anyways, if you want to build that chi, you need to first, I guess, establish a connection to your Dantian. Like you want to breathe deep. Let me explain this a little bit. When you get older, you tend to breathe because of panic and fear. You breathe at the top of your chest. When you're a baby, you're breathing all the way down in your pelvic. So if you're also working on alignment, this is a good time to be working on alignment, because if you want to get the proper openings to reach down to the Dantian, then you're going to need to be in alignment, you know? So I teach, study, and train Wing Chun, Vingtsun. I was very lucky to have found what I found. It was good. It's really good for me, and I got instruction from some really great guys, a really great system. And then I was fortunate enough to meet a lot of other people over the years. Lucky guy. Yep. Anyways, if you get on the real kung fu, like not some mimic bullshit, you find some real kung fu, research, and you train with like some cloth bottoms on or barefooted, you know, you can really magnify that chi, you know. What you're going to want to also do is look up different breathing techniques. You know, you guys, a lot of you probably knew when I said that we breathe these shallow breaths as we get older. And you probably knew, like, oh yeah, well, you're supposed to breathe to, you know, our lower abdomen, pelvic region. Well, you might have known, like, yeah, you got to do that, and that's how it was when we were kids. But it's like the think before you speak thing. You got to remember to do it. So if you're trying to increase your chi, you definitely want to do some grounding work, like wear something other than rubber soles. Hold on. So something other than rubber soles, or barefoot. Be barefoot is good. It's just cold out in some spots. So you want to ground yourself out. The key to everything is relaxation. I'm a very intense dude, so it like makes people think that I'm like hyped up all the time. I'll tell you a story. So I had some friends who he trained like I did back in the day, like crazy hours, 7 days a week, 365. So the dude was smart. He was on his shit. He was also like, he could do all kinds of somersaults and stuff. And yeah, he was. Anyways, he was like, man, Jay, why don't you chill out, man? Just hang out for a little bit. And I was like, no, man, I got to get this stuff done. Like I had things that I like to get done when I get home from work back then, to make sure that like my spirit and everything could be fully relaxed. I'm gonna get to it. All right, so, you know, they all always come home from work, sit down on the sofa, get high. And granted, they had some good bud. But back then I was just like, for 6 years, I didn't do nothing except for train. Anyways, they were like, you know, you're always doing all this stuff. Well, anyways, later on, all these bills and stuff came and crashed them hard. Like, and it kept happening. There was a cycle to it. I noticed patterns. I'm sure a lot of you do. All right. So I seen the pattern a few times, and I was like, look at this, guys. And I showed them like the difference between my consistent pattern, always doing what I need to do, like not putting it off, to they're just always putting everything off and then having to cram it at the last second. So it was causing them a lot more stress. Like other friends of mine noticed this. And when they would come by, because I had like a hub for where everybody trained. Like, you know, you train at the school, but then there's also a lot of training outside of the school. Well, you need to definitely do the training outside of the school as well. So, what it ended up being was everything that I had to have done at my house. Everybody knew that I was going to have this done. I had a really flexible job. I could work pretty much whenever. My boss was the shit. He always gave me jobs that would have me home by noon. That's how I was able to do all those hours of training. And he trained with Chuck Norris at one point, man. He was like, he was a wild dude. He was a big mentor of mine. Well, you know, it's good to have those too. Not to have the ego and have mentors. You know, if you want to learn how to do something. Well, anyways, back to the point. So by them, they thought they were just relaxed. They were just high. You know, high is good. Jump down, we're high. I had a fucking gummy earlier. Yeah. But if you're just putting things off, you're not really getting them done. You're not getting that deep level of relaxation. And I went a long ways for that because the key takeaway, the always takeaway, the only thing you're going to hear right now is relaxation. Relaxation is number one. You have to be relaxed all the time. Matter of fact, the more hype stuff comes up, like I run crazy. I was a cop. I was in the military, and I'm also just a different type of person sometimes. I care about everybody a lot. I got a pure heart, man. So when shit happens, a lot of people run. I always run to it. It was always in my nature. And when you can do that, you've reached a certain level of relaxation, and you've kind of submitted yourself, like, you know, hey, look, this is it, you know, whatever. I'm gonna always do the right thing. Look, I'll tell you, I got a good story for this one. There was this dude named Randall, and he got some felonies when he was a kid. Well, his felonies, I think, the behavior that got him the same felonies also, he was an Olympic level athlete, gymnast. Well, Randall found God, found some serious belief, like he was a really strong, he was a good guy, a really, really, really good guy. And I hated that I saw him with these felonies that kept him from being able to do certain things, and it made him just feel off. And he was such a stand-up guy, and all that stuff happened when he was like young. Well, he was never upset about it. And he told me a story one time. He was like, hey Jay, I was on this, because I was asking him about, like, you know, it sucks that he didn't get to actually go to the Olympics, and I was trying to hear about, like, what kept him from going. The drugs kept him from going. Well, I was like, damn, it's so sad to see that type of skill go to no use. Like, he'd even do them ring things. You know, he'd hold one ring in his hand, one in the other. All that, man, shit takes some insane strength. Well, he was like, he had gotten into contracting, and he was a foreman for a big time guy for like some towers in Richmond. And he was up there one day, and the wind or something kind of got him while he was walking. He started stumbling, and it didn't have any sides up there, and he slipped off the edge. He caught himself by his fingertips. There was nobody else up there. Like, they were off. Everybody was off. And I mean, the guys he was with were like a couple floors down or something. But he had to get up from his fingertips. Like, I thought about that a couple times. I'm like, man, that's crazy. So he did make it. And so that wasn't the end of this. So, because he was telling me about the Holy Spirit, right? All right. He was going down a road one day, and hardly any cars on the road, like out of Louisiana. And he noticed some tracks going off the road down into the water. But I mean, we see slide marks like on the road all the time, you know. He didn't say they looked fresh or anything like that, but he just said something told him to pull over. So he pulled over, and he couldn't see nothing in the water. He saw like a couple teeny air bubbles and something told him to dive into these, you know, it's Louisiana. Yeah, gators everywhere. So he jumped in there with there was a van underwater, like there was a wife or a woman and 2 kids. And sure enough, there were gators in the water. Well, he went back up because they still had air in the vehicle, some, but the water was getting in. It had evidently just happened. That's how crazy this is. Well, he went back up, got a shitty log. He said, AJ, I don't know how this log did it, but went back down, and that log busted that window. Anyways, they ended up pardoning all of his charges from when he was a young guy. And that Olympic stuff, that might be what helped him save those lives, and might be what helped him save his life. And if he was willing to throw away his life through the drugs, maybe thinking that the drugs took the Olympics from him, whatever, it made him decide to save his own life. Because when you're hanging on by your fingertips, it takes some hella willpower to pull yourself back up from that, you know? I mean, I've never been there, but I'd imagine. Anyways, believe what you want.